Hello and welcome to a movie review edition of Adventures in TV Land. For today's movie review commentary, we're going to be talking about Scream 2022, also known as Scream, also known as Scream 5. Now, these Scream movies, they were a pretty big deal in the late 90s and early 2000s. The films were smart. They were more of really suspense films, in all honesty, than horror films, even though they were slasher picks. But they were well written. The characters were well developed. And they had a lot of commentary about things going on in the entertainment business, as well as society kind of as a whole. It was commentary and all of that. They were entertaining movies. Those first four films, they're worth watching. Now Scream 4 came out 10 years ago, or I guess 11 years ago, in 2011, I believe. And that movie, in all honesty, it was a little bit ahead of its time, but in its social commentary and everything, but it was a worthy sequel. Now I have recently seen Scream, aka Scream 5, Scream 2022, and well, in all honesty, it was kind of a letdown. It was a really big letdown. Now, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Just so you know, this is a spoiler commentary review because there are certain things in the film that I need to discuss. So the movie takes place years after the last film, and there's a new set of characters introduced who end up, they have connections to some of the characters previously in the franchise. Although their connection, it's like, really? Okay. But, and so this new batch of characters comes in. Basically, someone is stalking a couple of girls, this pair of sisters, and because of the relationship that they have with someone from the first movie, turns out to be one of the characters. She is the illegitimate daughter of the main killer from the original Scream movie, and she's got these weird visions going on where she sees her dead dad. They use a CGI thing, and let me tell you, it's kind of weird and bizarre. I don't know if they were going for like the something from like the Chucky movie, the last few couple of Chucky movies, where the one girl, she, I don't know what was going on there, but it's just kind of bizarre, and that has no point because the original killer, Billy, he had everything planned out. I mean, it wasn't like he was, this was serial killer genetic type thing that you blame on genetics. It was, I mean, there was a reason for it. And anyway, so besides that, no point. The acting for the most part is really bad for these newer characters. They're not very well written. They're not very well developed. There's not very much tension when they're on the screen with emotions. I mean, other than you may recognize a few of them from other things they've done, it's like, oh, okay, wow, that person's dead, but didn't have any really connection to him. The film, if you're a white male, basically, you are either going to be killed or you are a killer. That's pretty much it in the film for the most part. So you're either a killer or you're killed. If you're a minority, chances are you are going to survive in this film. It's very much the current scheme of things that are going on in Hollywood. Now the commentary, the reason for the killers doing things in the movie, it's all basically it's tying it back to YouTube and fans, toxic fans, and blaming toxic fans. They're taking things to a new level. I don't know. It's really bizarre. The worst thing about this film is that it does bring the three main legacy characters back from the previous 4 films. But here, big spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. If you don't want to know any other spoilers, turn it off now. Spoiler alert. They kill Dewey. They freaking kill Dewey. Dewey, yeah, he was stabbed a lot, but he survived all the other films. He's kind of like the good guy that does everything. And in this movie, though, everything that Dewey learned in the previous 4 movies, he throws it out the window. Everything, whoop, it goes out the window. He does things that Dewey would not do. He does not act like himself. And then his relationship with Gale, they turn things reverse around because previously, I mean, in all the other 4 films, Dewey loves Gale, and he does everything he can to make things work with them. But she's always the one going off chasing after her career. Well, this time it switches around. You find out the reason the relationship didn't work out was because Dewey was the one that gave up. And he came back home. He gave up. Dewey wouldn't do that! That's not his character. I mean, come on, people. Did you not see the previous 4 movies? It's kind of like Toy Story 4, what they did with Buzz Lightyear. But anyway, and Woody. But so throw that out. So they kill Dewey. No reason to do it, but they do it. Just for the sake, basically, of doing it. They make one of the killers at the end makes his excuse that, oh, they had to kill Dewey to show that, you know, there were stakes involved. Blah 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 blah. It's just horrible. As for the killers themselves, I knew who the killers were within 10 minutes of the movie. I knew who both the killers were. Yes, there are 2 killers. Spoiler alert. And I knew who they both were within the first less than 10 minutes of the movie. I knew exactly which 2 people were the killers. There's very little, actually, real suspense in the movie. Like, the characters, they're not believable. The new legacy girls, in all honesty, the younger sister, I could maybe watch her again in a movie. She was not too bad. But the older sister, who's supposed to be the central, new protagonist, she was boring, dull, lame. I mean, her acting skill, I don't know if it was because of the script. That's probably, I'm sure, part of it, and direction, but not very good. It was not very good. I was very disappointed. Now, honestly, some of the things they tried to do in this movie, or they did do in this movie, they were done better in Scream 4. So they're really, in all honesty, everything that they were trying to do, and other than the messaging they were trying to get across in this film, commenting on toxic fandom, other than that, everything was done better in Scream 4. There was no reason for this Scream 5, other than, I guess, they're afraid maybe that, the copyright they're going to lose or something. I don't know. But, so, there you have it. It's kind of a long-winded commentary, but Scream 5, Scream 2022, it sucked, in all honesty. I'd give it a D+, maybe a C- at best. I would avoid this film. I mean, it was nice to see the 3 main legacy characters back for that aspect, but because of what they do to Dewey, I would, just avoid this film. Really, the Scream franchise ended with Scream 4, and I can see this series a few years down the line, if they continue with it, they'll end up making another movie where they ignore some of these, especially this past film, and just ignore that continuity altogether. Kind of like what they're doing with Halloween. So, yeah, Scream 5 sucks. Wait for it, when it's on video demand and on streaming or whatever, and you don't have to pay for it. It does not do justice to Wes Craven or even Kevin Williamson or the Scream franchise in general. It's just a sequel, a money grab, a cash attempt. That's basically all it is. Thanks for watching. Until next time, that's a wrap.